Hi there, this is Patrik Baboumian, and today I'm excited to announce this 40-day Kickstarter campaign for an animal rights themed comic book. Enter EARTHRAISER, a superhero, or rather anti-hero story that I've been silently working on for the last 4 years and that was originally been written as a screenplay to be turned into a film. But the more I worked on the story, the more I realized that it would make sense to present it to the world in form of a graphic novel first, before going for the more ambitious plan to turn it into a movie. Why would the world need another comic book hero? You may rightfully ask. See, comic books are the modern day version of myths and legends. And like their historic predecessors, comic books usually tell the stories of the struggle and fight of powerful heroes against forces who represent the darker aspects of the world. Thus ideally inspiring us to be better versions of ourselves through the means of storytelling and entertainment. If you have been following my work a bit, you know that I'm a total comic book nerd since childhood. I've been even talking about this in my TEDx talk back in 2018. So I was always a bit disappointed that there was no real popular comic book with an animal rights theme and a badass hero with fantastic powers. Sure, there are a number of vegan comic book heroes, but as a true nerd, I have to tell you that a hero whose defining characteristic is his diet, it's not very compelling to your non-vegan general audience. So I spent many years trying to find an angle on this message I wanted to get across that would not only attract vegans who already agree with the theme of the story, but the general public. After all, the animals deserve a hero powerful enough to create real change. And that is only possible by appealing to a broad audience. So after many years of racking my brain, I found the perfect recipe just a few months ago in a sleepless night in a hotel room. In that night, while I was trying to fall asleep, my mind just gave me the answer to how to make a powerful animal rights superhero story that would appeal to everyone. And the answer was this. Instead of putting the emphasis on veganism, I would put the emphasis on the problem that has to be solved. Suffering. What if there was a hero whose superpower, or rather his curse, was that he would feel the suffering of others as if it was his own. This would force our hero to fight against that which creates unnecessary suffering in the world. You see where this is going? This is all of a sudden not about a vegan in spandex anymore. Our hero would not even have to be vegan or identify with animal rights. His curse would force him to do the right thing, but he could be someone the general audience can identify with. Thus, they would see everything in the story through his eyes and identify with his struggle and his need to put an end to unnecessary suffering created by humans in this world. To make the story compelling and authentic, I have put many aspects of my own autobiographic experiences into the story. Like myself, the hero of EARTHRAISER, Voice of the Voiceless, loses his father early in his life and experiences other catastrophic events that shape him in a way to make him what he is as a person. With strengths as much as with flaws that he has to overcome to reach his goals in the story and ultimately to survive and to reach his potential as the catalyst of events that will change the course of life on Earth. I hope at this point you understand why I couldn't fall asleep that night when I had this revelation of a story idea. I wrote the full outline of the story in that very night, and I've worked on it since then. Joining me in my quest to bring this story and his hero to the world is David Padilla, who is the talented artist in charge of the illustration of the book. And today we're both super excited to be able to present this story to the world for the very first time. So without further ado, let us introduce you to the world of EARTHRAISER, Voice of the Voiceless. These are the main characters of our story. EARTHRAISER, Voice of the Voiceless. Wolf Winter was born in the Middle East and had been adopted by German parents as a child. After his foster father died during a bombardment, his mother took him to Germany, where Wolf joined the German army as an adult. Having lost everyone he ever loved, While always being unharmed himself and not being able to save any of them, Wolf feels like he doesn't deserve to be in this world. Thus he ends up in a secret EU military program for high-level military and intelligence personnel who undergo an experimental genetic bioaugmentation program with a high risk of a fatal outcome for the subjects. The experiment is designed to create super agents with the ability to read and influence the cognition of sentient life forms. He is the sole survivor of the experiment, and when he wakes up after 10 days in coma and learns the truth, he feels it again. That voice in him that says, "Why you? You should be dead by now. You don't deserve to be here." But as always, he knows that he has a mission to fulfill, and this time it is to find out why the government was willing to sacrifice 100 of their highest-ranking agents in an experiment that had never been tested before. 5 years after the experiment, Wolf's new abilities start to manifest in a very different form as intended. Instead of being able to read minds, these abilities turn Wolf into a human antenna for the suffering of any complex sentient life form that is inside a radius of 5 miles to Wolf's position at any given time. This causes Wolf to feel the pain and suffering of human and non-human animals as if it was his own. And because he might feel the suffering of hundreds or even thousands of individuals at the same time, these manifestation attacks put Wolf into a raging state where his mind is trying to survive the devastating agony by transforming all the pain into anger, causing Wolf to go into a berserk state where he has no conscious control over his actions. Agent D is a die-hard professional. She's the one the government calls when the world is on fire and all heroes hit the road because this monster's too scary. Not afraid to get her hands dirty, she's the government's #1 problem solver in tricky situations that require a certain degree of recklessness. She works with a team of 4 elite bio-enhanced special ops soldiers who are only mentioned by their collective codename, the Riders, or their individual codenames that match the names of the biblical horsemen of the apocalypse: Conquest, War, Famine, and their captain, Death, who is, apart from Agent D herself, the scariest thing the government has to offer. D is deployed to apprehend Wolf and get him under control when he runs amok during a routine mission in the Middle East. Dr. Z. GEIST is a German exobiologist who has spent most of his career researching extraterrestrial microbial life. When he discovers that one strain of microbes he's been working on show collective behavior patterns that only can be interpreted as the outcome of some form of telepathic connection between the whole colony of microorganisms, a secret branch of the EU military hires him to direct a program codenamed Project Pandora, with the objective to use his research to help the government create human agents with mind-reading abilities. But after sacrificing decades of his life to the program and finally being at a point he's been working towards for all those years, his career takes a catastrophic turn when his experiment kills almost the entire elite ranks of the EU military and intelligence apparatus. The sole survivor of the program is Wolf Winter. Gaia is a 12-year-old girl who lives with her mother Minna in Berlin. She has been speechless since birth, but has extraordinary cognitive abilities and uses sign language to communicate. Gaia and her mother live in constant fear of her violent, substance-abusing father, who must not know their whereabouts. When Wolf tries to hide from the government in the shadows of Berlin, he befriends Gaia and her mother, not knowing how the silent and yet so bright girl will change his fate one day. Ether is a being who appears to Wolf at an early dark point of the story and pushes him to fight through the darkness back to life. We will learn in the book who he really is and how his and Wolf's fates are intertwined. There's only one thing for sure with Ether: nothing is as it seems. For more information on the world of our story, check out the campaign description below. I hope this little sneak peek to the world and the main characters that make up our story, EARTHRAISER, Voice of the Voiceless, made you curious enough to support our mission to bring this story to the world in the biggest way possible and inspire a whole generation of comic readers to change their perspective on how we treat non-human life by giving them the chance to sympathize with a hero who will be forced to see the world through the eyes of those who suffer the most, human or non-human. If you can, please support us by either making a contribution to this campaign or by sharing it with all your friends. The money raised is going to be used to pay the artist fairly and to cover all production costs in order to make EARTHRAISER the inspiring and generation-changing mythos that I know it can be. If we reach our goal of 12,000 euros, we will be able to produce a 50-page limited edition of EARTHRAISER Voice of the Voiceless. If we reach 20,000 euros, we can extend the volume of the story to 60 pages. And if we reach more than 35,000 euros, all of your physical copies are going to be printed as hardcover versions instead of softcover. Everything we reach above 35,000 euros will be spent to promote the EARTHRAISER comic and work on future EARTHRAISER projects like the initially intended EARTHRAISER film. So you really have the power to make EARTHRAISER bigger and more impactful by either joining us with a contribution or by sharing this campaign with all your friends. We've put together some awesome rewards that you will receive for your contributions. Check them out and decide on which level you want to support EARTHRAISER. Together, we can make it happen. EARTHRAISERS, raise your voice.